Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Friday, January 3rd edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'll be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. I got some news to talk about today, a lot of fight announcements, and I got some reader questions. Kevin Scott sent some questions in, so I'm looking forward to sharing those questions with you guys and answering them. I've had a little bit of internet issues this morning, so the podcast was a little bit later than I wanted it to be, but sorry about that. You know, we have internet issues sometimes, so that's going to happen, but let's get right into today's show. All right, so first things first, Conor McGregor. Apparently, he's going to be the standby fighter for UFC 249. This is according to UFC President Dana White, which is going to drive a lot of people mad because Conor McGregor doesn't deserve a title shot. He doesn't even want to fight in 3 years, 4 years old now, because it's been since November 2016. Now it's January 2020. So he hasn't fought in MMA since October 2018 against Khabib. He hasn't won since the Eddie Alvarez fight in November 2016. So it's been a while. Having said that, though, he's still a huge name. So when I saw Dana White say this, I wasn't too shocked by it. He still needs to be Cowboy next week. So that's got to happen. Actually, in 2 weeks, I should say. Once that happens, though, that puts Conor in a really good spot in the lightweight division. Even though that fight's taking place at welterweight, it still puts Conor in a great spot at lightweight. So Justin Gaethje's not happy about this, obviously. He wants the title shot. He wants to be the standby fighter. And I don't blame him, obviously. Anyone would want to be, because Khabib and Tony that fight's been canceled 4 times in the past. The 5th time could be the charm. We'll see. But if it doesn't happen, would anyone be surprised, honestly? Probably not, right? So Conor McGregor is going to be the first guy to step in line, according to Dana White. And again, a lot of fans, I posted the article on BJ Penn, fans aren't too happy about this. Maybe they'll change their tune, though, once Conor goes in there and fights Cerrone. If he goes and knocks Cerrone out, I think a lot of people will just be like, okay, whatever. Just like let him be the standby guy. But at the same time, he doesn't want to fight in forever. So, yeah, I was a little like scratching my head about this, but it doesn't make sense because Conor's such a big draw. So it is what it is. Dana White, he's been doing a couple interviews lately, ESPN, also UFC.com. His big regret, as far as matchmaking goes, is never booking Brock Lesnar against Fedor Emelianenko. He says this is the fight he wanted to do about 10 years ago, never happened. He says this is his biggest regret, and it would have been a big fight. You know what's crazy, though? As much as it would have been a big fight 10 years ago, I still think that's a big fight. I still think Brock versus Fedor is a big fight. Now, would it happen? Probably not, because Brock, if he does come back to MMA, I'm sure that the UFC has some sort of contract with him where he has to fight in the UFC. He probably can't go to Bellator. But imagine Bellator got Brock Lesnar to fight Fedor. That'd be a big fight, guys. Even in 2020, it's still a huge fight. These guys are still big names. Fedor's still knocking guys out. Brock's still a big name. So never say never. It's MMA. We saw Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell fight when Chuck was like 50. So you never know. I doubt this happens now. 10 years ago was much more likely, and I'm sad it never happened because honestly, I would have loved to see that fight. Fedor is one of my all-time favorites, and Brock was one of the most dominant heavyweights in the sport for a couple-year stretch there. So that would have been a big fight. But I still think it's a big fight. Don't think it happens. Fedor's in Bellator. He's on his world tour. He's only going to have a couple fights left. He's going to retire. The UFC had the chance to sign Fedor multiple times. Never happened. Him and Dana White, they just clashed. They don't get along. It didn't work out. Their personalities clash. And with Brock, he's obviously not fighting right now, and he had the USADA thing too. I don't even know if he could pass a drug test when he comes back. So it probably doesn't happen, guys. But like I said, in MMA, you never say never. We've seen crazier things happen. We've seen fights that we never expected to happen finally happen years and years down the road. So very unlikely, considering both guys are in their 40s now. And it's sad it didn't happen when they were in their 30s in their prime. But never say never, because it's MMA and crazy, crazy things happen. All right, a lot of fight announcements to get to today. I'm going to start with it right away. All right, UFC Norfolk. This card got a few different fights. This is the Joseph Benavidez, Davison Figueiredo card. It's got some fun fights here. First one here, Jan Cutelaba against Magomed Ankalaev. So I like this fight. It's a fun one. Cutelaba is pretty entertaining to watch. He's 15-4 in his career, 26 years old. In the UFC, he is 4-3. So he's been a little consistent, but he is coming off a nice win over Khalil Rountree by knockout, which was a great win for him. He's actually won 3 of his last 4 fights. And if you look at his losses, the Misha Cirkunov, Jared Cannonier, and Glover Teixeira. So those are some good fighters he's lost to. Obviously, his wins aren't that great. Kazimir Antigulov, Luis Harvick de Silva, Jonathan Wilson, and then Khalil Rountree. But the Rountree win, I think, showed that he is improving his game. That was a big win for him. But he takes on Ankalaev, who's looked really good lately. He's 12-1 in his career. He's only 27, so another young guy. He's 3-1 in the UFC. After losing to Paul Craig by a last-second submission, that was just really pathetic the way he tapped out with 1 second left. Since then, he's won 3 straight fights. Looked really good. Beat Marcin, Klitsin, Abreu, and Delka Lugumin-Bala. And he looked great in that last fight. That knockout in the 3rd round. Picked up a performance of the night bonus. Looked amazing in that fight. So we'll see what happens there. But I do like Magomed and Ankalaev, guys. I do think he wins this fight. I like him quite a bit. I think he's a really dangerous fighter. And I do believe that he probably does get his hand raised in this fight because he's looked improved. And honestly, I was a bit of a hater against the guy after the loss to Paul Craig because I don't think you should be tapping out with 1 second left in a fight. But at the same time, he's looked improved since then, so good for him. All right, a couple other fights in that card. We got this one. This is a fun one. Featherweight bout between Mike Davis and Giga Chikadze. Someone actually posted this. Marcel posted the picture of Mike Davis. He's got a crazy tattoo. It says like I am the pain, and like if you didn't do anything wrong, you wouldn't have to face this pain or something. It's crazy. Like it's a cool tattoo. Go check it out if you guys can see it. Mike Davis coming off a nice win over Thomas Gifford. I mean, that was brutal. Like just a devastating knockout win. Lost to Gilbert Burns before that, but no shame in that. Also lost to Sodiq Yusuff on the Contender Series, but man, he's looked good lately with the win over Thomas Gifford and then a couple other wins on island fights. And then Giga Chikadze coming off kind of a controversial split decision win over Brandon Davis. A lot of people thought he lost. He's won 3 straight fights, though. He's looked okay since then. So I got to go with Mike Davis here. I think Mike Davis showed a lot in that Gifford fight. Like, it was a mismatch for sure, but still, I mean, the guy looked good in that fight. Chikadze, I did pick him to beat Brandon Davis, but like it was kind of a lucky win if you ask me. So we'll see what happens. Like, should be an interesting fight, but I do like Mike Davis a little bit in there. And another fight here, we got Marcin Tybura against Sergey Spivak. This is a fun fight too in the heavyweight division. Marcin Tybura, 17-6. He has overall record in the UFC of 4-5. So not a great record in the UFC. He's actually lost 4 of his last 5 fights. So he's been struggling lately. Really tailed off. At one point in time, he looked like a serious contender, but it's really tailed off since then. And Spivak actually coming off a really nice upset win over Tai Tuivasa. It was a big underdog there. Got the win. He did lose to Walt Harris, so that was obviously disappointing for him, but no one expected him to win that fight and then beats Tuivasa as like I think of like a plus 350 underdog. So he was a big underdog there. I don't know. It's a tough one to call because Spivak looked so good in the last fight, but I still think Tybura is a better fighter despite this losing skid. So I guess my lean would be a little bit towards Tybura. I mean, at some point I'm going to have to stop picking this guy to win because I feel like I pick him all the time and he keeps losing, but I just think he's a decent fighter. I just think he's kind of run into a bad stretch here. We'll see what happens, though. If he loses, wouldn't surprise me, and I wouldn't – that's not the kind of fight I'd want to bet on. And the last fight for this card they want to mention was actually, that's all for that card. And then we'll go to UFC 248, Guido Cannetti against Danaa Batgerel. So Guido Cannetti's got to be one of the oldest guys in the UFC right now. He's like 40 years old. I'm surprised he's still on the roster, and this guy's been around forever. 40 years old. Record 8-4 in the UFC, or excuse me, in MMA. And the UFC is just 2-3. He's been competing in the octagon since 2014. Only has 5 fights. And this guy fights once a year. Coming off a loss to Marlon Vera in 2018, hasn't fought in a while. And he takes on Batgerel, who did have a good fight against Alatang in his UFC debut. Really good fight. He didn't lose. He lost the fight. He didn't win, but it was still a fun fight. And before I won a couple fights by knockout, I kind of lean towards Batgerel a little bit. But Guido Cannetti has a little bit more experience in the UFC. I just can't bet on a guy who's 40 years old. Last fight announcement, UFC Raleigh, Nick Lentz against Nad Narimani. Nick Lentz has definitely been kind of up and down in his UFC career. He was really a grinder at the beginning of his career, and he's kind of turned it around a little bit, turned into a bit of like a finisher, actually. 3 of his last 4 wins have been by finish. So he's started finishing fights. He is coming off a knockout loss against Charles Oliveira, which surprised a lot of people because Oliveira doesn't really knock anyone out. He did get knocked down in that last fight. And that's it. So let's see here. Nad Narimani. Nad Narimani is what 2-1 in the UFC, beat Khalid Taha and Anderson Dos Santos and lost to Mike Grundy. So we'll see what happens in this fight. I kind of like Narimani a little bit, but Nick Lentz definitely can grind guys out. I'm just looking at the comments here. UFC 246, idiot. What are you talking about, dude? I don't think you're seeing it properly, man. Conor's the standby fighter for UFC 249, my friend. He's already fighting at 246. We already know that's going to happen, bro. He's the standby fighter for Khabib and Tony Ferguson. Go read the article, bjpen.com. Dana White confirmed the news. That's what I'm talking about in the title. He is fighting Donald Cerrone. He's fighting Conor McGregor in 2 weeks, yes, at 246. And Conor's the standby fighter at 249. So I don't think the title's wrong, but for some reason someone does. Anyways, I want to go to the reader questions here. Kevin Scott. Hi, Adam. Let's be honest. UFC 246 is the worst pay-per-view in several years. Okay, right on cue. There's absolutely zero divisional relevance in any fight. Only 3 fighters on the entire main card are even coming off wins. That's ridiculous. You know what? This guy's not wrong. Kevin's not wrong. It's not a great card. It's a 1-fight card, arguably 2. The 1 fight, obviously, McGregor's Cerrone. You don't know it's going to be a big fight. Just looking through the card, I mean, okay, that's not fair to say. There's a few other good fights in this card. Pettis versus Ferrer, that's a really good fight. Barber and Modafferi, it's a mismatch, but I like watching Macy fight. Feely versus Yusuf, that's a fun fight. Skelly Dawson's okay. Askarov Elliott, like there's some good fights. So you know what? I guess I disagree a little bit, Kevin. I don't think it's the worst pay-per-view we've seen. We have seen some pretty bad ones over the years, but definitely not some great fights on here for sure. I mean, for instance, Olenek versus Green is on the main card. That's not a main card fight, in my opinion, at this point in time, and on a pay-per-view, but I digress. I just think that Holm Pennington's a weak co-main event. I think they should have had another fight, but this card was booked on such short notice. It really was. They just kind of threw it together, so I can kind of understand why. Anyways, just going through Kevin's questions here. Take the names away, and the main event is a non-title fight between a celebrity who has won in 3 calendar years for some long in the tooth 36-year-old journeyman who's coming off back-to-back TKO losses, who was only 4-6 in his last 10. I feel like you're selling them a little short, Kevin. Conor is more than just a celebrity. He's a former double champion in the UFC. So I don't really agree with you saying he's just a celebrity. He hasn't fought in 3 years. That's true. He did fight he hasn't won in 3 years. Yes, he's fought like a year and a bit ago. So it's true he hasn't won a fight in forever. But Kevin, come on, we've seen worse. Like it's Conor McGregor. Of course, he's going to headline the card. And then the other comment about Cerrone, 36-year-old journeyman. Yeah, it's true. He is a bit of a journeyman, but he's, it's 4-6 his last 10. Okay, fair enough. But it's still Donald Cerrone. I mean, he's still a big name. He's still one of the most experienced guys in UFC history. So I just feel like you're selling a little short, Kevin. I think it's a fine main event. Like, of course, it would be nice if Conor had been fighting more frequently, but he hasn't been, and he's got to fight at some point. So for me, the main event's not the problem here. It's kind of like just the depth of the card as far as the pay-per-view goes. Like, they raised the price, right? They raised the price for people to watch Conor fight. The other fights in this main card, like Holm versus Pennington, he gets right into it. Co-main event features Holm versus Pennington, a rematch nobody asked for, pitting 2 women well past their prime. Holm only 2-5 in her last 7. Pennington only having 1 win in the past 3 years. I agree with you completely on. Not a good fight. The first fight wasn't very good, and Holm and Pennington have just really declined as of late. So I'm not interested in this rematch. And just looking at the odds, like I do like Holly Holm quite a bit in this fight. Minus 135 right now. There's some good value there in my opinion. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to that fight. But it could be a better opportunity at least. Olenek versus Green is on the main card for some reason, I guess, because no terrible card we complete with so terrible heavyweights taking the space. Oh man, you know what? Like again, this is a prelim fight. This fight should be in the main card. It's kind of weird the way they've booked the card. You guys can go see that. I think on Wikipedia they have it. But yeah, the card placement's kind of weird. But that's not a terrible fight for a prelim. Just it's not a pay-per-view main event card, main card I should say. And then I guess Claudia versus Grasso would be interesting. But we have one who's 3-2 in her last 5 versus one who is 2-3 in her last 5. Between the two of them combined for just 1-2 fight winning streak their entire careers. Grasso's a little bit overrated. Claudia hasn't really lived up to the hype. It's an okay fight. Actually, I think this fight could be decent, to be honest with you. It could be a pretty fun fight, like an underrated fight. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, they're not serious contenders at this point. And your last comment here, in the first fight in the main card is Anthony Pettis, who hasn't won back-to-back fights in over 5 years, 4-7 at a time versus talented, but I don't infringe contender who's even diehards would have a difficulty picking up a lineup. I personally love the Ferrer Pettis fight. This should have been the co-main event, in my opinion. Time to give Ferrer like a step up. The guy looked amazing as of late. So I know what you're saying about Pettis. He's been very inconsistent in his career, especially lately. But I still think it's a good fight. I'm fine with watching that fight personally. I think it should have been the co-main event based on what else we have in the card. This card really could have used like one more good fight. But again, guys, it was booked on just like a month's notice. So really no shock that it's not the greatest card. And his last comment here, Kevin's last comment, I know everyone will go nuts about this card because of Conor's return. If they're being honest, the card is terrible. And for those like myself who despise Conor for his various antics, both captured on video and alleged via the press, the card offers nothing at all. I hope Cowboy wins because it will move the sport back in the right direction. You're not the only person who says that. By the way, there's a lot of people out there right now who are like really on Cowboy here. And I was talking to my friend Aaron Bronstein. He made some good points. I think I talked about this last week, but he was like, breaking down the matchup. Okay, who's the better puncher? We know McGregor. Who's the better chin? McGregor. But then he's like, who's the better kicker? Cerrone. Who's the better submissioner? Cerrone. Who's the better ground game? Cerrone. Who's the better cardio? Cerrone. Who is more experienced? Cerrone. So there's a lot going in Cerrone's favor. But at the same time, I got to go with Conor. I do think it's a good fight, though. I'm excited about that fight. I just feel like you're selling the fight short, Kevin. I understand people like Conor and his personality. A lot of people don't, and for good reason. The guy's, been screwing up a lot this year and last year, I should say. But still a good fight. It's Conor McGregor. Anytime he fights, it's a big event. So I'm fine with the fight. And I think that's all I'm going to talk about today, guys. I think that's it for the show. You guys can check me on Twitter at MMAOB. Also check me out bjpenn.com and MMARings.net. And of course, MMAOddsbreaker.com, our home of the podcast, a lot of my articles. If you guys have any questions over the weekend, shoot them to me on Twitter or email. There is no MMA event really this weekend, so I hope you guys can make it through the next 2 weeks till we get the next UFC card. It's nice to have a little bit of a break, though. I think we all deserve it, so nice little break here. But until then, guys, I'll be back on Monday. I hope you guys enjoy the weekend. I'm looking forward to just relaxing this weekend. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll be back Monday. Have a good one. Bye.